Deborah O'Neill, welcome
Nice to meet you.
Milestone Villanova, their wonderful boardroom. We thank them for that. We travel around, we're just nomads, you see. We'll use any boardroom that's available. And to Business Insider. So thanks for your time.
It's a pleasure.
We've had an adventurous morning, but we won't go there.
I do get to live a nomadic life in a way, though.
I can only imagine.
Yeah.
And it for you, it started, 18 months ago, I guess, or 12, What shocks you? There must be stuff you look back and say, if I knew this was going to be here after, in federal politics, I would have thought again.
Yeah.
Is there anything that comes to mind about what surprised you?
Well, no, not really in terms of disappointments.
No, just surprises.
Yeah, there's plenty that's new every single day. So each day is really full of surprises. You never know who's going to need your assistance as they walk into the office. What surprised me is how much pleasure I've actually had in working with a team of 4 other people very closely. As a teacher, you do work with others, but you're in a classroom by yourself a lot of the time. This really is a collaborative event every day, all day. And as small business owners would know, you're only as strong as the team allows you to be. So working closely with my colleagues in the office here in Gosford is a real joy in my life, and also being able to work with the local community members, and in particular the Labor Party members, who really bring a lot of local issues to my attention.
That's all very nice, Deborah.
It's true.
It's cool. And it should be true too. Your closeness to the community, is that because you are representing those people?
Yeah. Yeah, look, that's a really joyful thing for me to experience. It's 1 year since I've been here, and just in the last couple of weekends I've had my second visit to a couple of events. Firstly, I went to the Mangrove Mountain Fair, which was just delightful last year, and it was shortly after I was elected, and I knew a couple of people up there, but I got to meet the community in a whole different way that day. And I'm pleased to say that I've been up there several times now, and I had the pleasure of going on a tour and looking at our agricultural businesses up there, developing my understanding of the challenges that they face in a global economy, and just looking at the amazing progress that they're making with really becoming more and more sensitive to the environment, decreasing their carbon footprint and increasing their productivity and their profitability by doing so, using new technologies. And they're not sort of things you think of when you think naturally of an agricultural sector, but Dominello's with the flowers definitely we're using new technologies all of the time and improving their techniques. So that was great. I got to know that community, but a year down the track I knew so many more people, and to have met the students up there who were the ambassadors for coming down to, they're ambassadors for the region, and I got them to come, one of the girls to come down to visit me, Alicia. She's a lovely, lovely young girl, and she came down.
Do those industries use you enough? Should they be using you more?
Look, I think that all industries can set up a barrier between politics and itself. Sometimes people can become disheartened by the cynicism of the media, but really people who lead in the communities and people who are successful in business are people who believe in things, people who have the perseverance and the hard work and willingness to get out and make things happen. And if they want to do that, then certainly politicians are a part of the mix in terms of helping getting the public policy settings right to make things happen. And there's a few really big wins that we've had in the last year. Delivering the NBN for Gosford, that's 11,200 premises from Gosford Centre that will grow in an ever expanding sort of circular motion, getting out from there to the entire region. The Central Coast is ahead of Newcastle and Sydney for the first time. We have an incredible economic advantage, so if there are any entrepreneurs out there, get into Gosford, get started, get out of the pack, because it's a dog-eat-dog world out there. Yeah, take every advantage.
Deborah, with regard to finding out what's going on the Central Coast, have there been moments that have enlightened you?
Yeah, well, every day you meet new people and you meet business leaders who are attempting to do great things for the coast. People who have a real vision for what's possible here, people who've lived in other parts of the world who come back, and I think it's a breathtaking place,
Do businesses know they should come and chat to you, do you think?
Look, I don't know that the conversation between business and politicians has been as good as it really needs to be, because, you know, as a politician, and especially with it being from the Labor Party, sometimes people might think that you're not interested in small business. But, you know, I actually come from a small business family background. I just really believe that Labor policy is about all of us moving forward together, and small businesses employ, you know, a huge number of Australians, and I believe that we really need to make sure that small business is at the heart of what we do, because on the coast, if you weren't employed by a small business, you probably wouldn't be employed, and that's just the reality. So small business people perhaps I need to have a better conversation with small business people to let them know that in a patchwork economy where the mining resource sector is absolutely booming, let's call that the working part, we might be the patch part where we need a bit of assistance. It's really important that the federal government under Labor will be making sure that small businesses as well as ordinary working Australians share in that boom. We're going to be making it possible for any local small business to have an automatic instant asset write-off of up to $6,500 for any item that they need for their particular business. So, for example, Kincumber Quarries, you know, they're looking at replacing some of their, a computer in the office and a slasher. Now, they'll be able to write those items off because they're under $6,500 instantly. Now, that's a big cash flow impact, and it means that instead of losing productivity by having your goods degrade, you actually make sure that the people who are working for you have the equipment that they need, you renew it as it's required, and you write it off, and we keep businesses moving in a productivity gaining way. Through that, you know, a local bricklayer, Ross Wouters, he's working today, I know, up at Mardi. He needs to replace a trailer and some other equipment for his business, a brick saw. Now, to do that, he's going to be able to get this instant asset write-off, and we're only able to do that because we are taking some of the incredible super profits from the biggest mining boom our country has seen and making sure that all Australians get our fair share of that advantage to our economy, including small business. And
so
through
businesses,
them,
need to come and talk to you more.
Well, yes, and maybe there's responsibility for me too to get that message out. So certainly I'm attempting to communicate that, and I'm very happy to get to business events and speak with people. But sometimes businesses need to open their minds to see that the Labor Party actually really does understand small business very well. Just
on that, and part of that is strategy and knowing where the businesses are going. We talked briefly about understanding where the Central Coast is going. We have extraordinary talents up here. What can we do, what can you do to lift our visibility on the coast to the rest of Australia? Well, in terms of visibility, where I sit in the Parliament, if people knew that I was from the Central Coast, they'd see the Central Coast a lot. And some people do recognise that. But the reality is, in terms of visibility, businesses are the ones who need the visibility. You know, there's only so much one person can do. I think that we need to have a better sense of how big business can actually be here on the coast. And there's never been a moment like right now with the NBN. You know, I have met many business people, and indeed as I've travelled around the whole country, there is nowhere that people are saying, don't give me the NBN. Everyone wants it because we know that it gives us the capacity to participate at the same speed as other nations in the global economy. You know, there are local businesses that do film editing who want to do real-time, live film editing from New York, but right here on the Central Coast and employ people. Currently they can't do it. They can't upload at sufficient speed. I think you mentioned earlier the opportunity is for entrepreneurs in Sydney and Newcastle to actually commute to the Central Coast once NBN gets up.
And you know what? Once they start commuting, they won't want to go away. They'll want to stay here, and that's what's happening. I think from my year moving around and working in the community, I have a sense that we have an incredibly talented IT sector here. You know, we actually have some people who've retired from working over in Silicon Valley who've got time on their hands, talent, you know, just oozing from them. But they need places to do business. They need, you know, buildings in the middle of Gosford that are innovative, that are new, that reflect the sort of forward-looking vision, and with that absence of community investment in infrastructure in the town, I think that we're perhaps losing some opportunities there.
Well, it comes down to the landing and the opportunity to support that.
Yes, yeah. Well, there are many entrepreneurs around who'd like to be doing some business in Gosford, and I think that businesses that want to take advantage of the NBN, now's the time to get in there and set yourself up, because I think that it's our time. It's really time for this region to come into its own. You know, we are the size of Canberra. You know, the federal government has invested really significantly in our hospital, in our local schools. You know, the regional cancer centre, Woy Woy rehab. These are things that make a community feel safe, and that's an important part.
So, what should we be doing more from a business perspective? Should we be better focused? It comes back to the strategic advantage. If we had a strategic advantage, you mentioned IT. We've got aged care. Yeah,
well, we certainly do have aged care as a growing industry in this area. We've got the Productivity Commission at the moment being considered by the government, caring for older Australians, and we had the Minister Mark Butler here on the coast speaking with some of the leading providers and also general community members about how we make sure that in aged care, because you know we're aging, we're going to be those aged care people who
some faster than others.
That's
yes.
True, and we'll be looking for choice and really high quality, and we're going to need a workforce that can meet the demands of that baby boom bump that's going to happen. So we really need to be thinking about how we can invest in that industry as well. Education is another sector that's growing on the Central Coast. So, you know, the training of that workforce is certainly another great business opportunity that people might be thinking about investing in. I don't see any limit to what is possible here. I think in terms of tourism, we're really still pretty underdone. This is just an amazing place. And in Parliament, I always say, you know, we love where we live, and my goal is to bring as many jobs to this area as possible so that people can live and work on the coast and not have to get on that train, in the car, head down the F3, spend all that time away from the coast, spend their lunch money, sometimes their dinner money, and not be able to help out with soccer or netball.
How do we score you over the next, let's say, it is another 2 years to go? You know, at the end of this time, when you get the opportunity to look back, what would you like to have beside Deborah O'Neill's name?
Well, I think there are classic things that, in terms of education, because that's really building business for the future. If you don't invest in education and training, you don't have the people that you need for innovative businesses. We need 21st century learners who can really embrace and use technology.
Is that changing what we've got in place now?
Well, the change from the government, the federal government's investment in the Building the Education Revolution has really enhanced our local primary schools in terms of students being able to use interactive whiteboards, and that's just technology is a platform for them to learn and connect with the world. So certainly we're building a great workforce for the future. That's a good thing. I want to be measured on that. In terms of the health, it's great to have a business, but if you need access to high quality healthcare, access to a GP super clinic, which you know I've got $7 million for, you know I want that to be delivered. The regional cancer centre, you know, sadly, people who are in business also might need that. That needs to be delivered. You know, measure me on those things certainly. And in terms of building a relationship with business, you know, I would like to be doing this job for a very long period of time, and I certainly would like to be working hand in hand with small businesses, medium businesses and large businesses on the coast to enhance every opportunity that they see for their business in any way that I can. Certainly, you know, if there's federal assistance, grants that are available for businesses to get going or to move to another phase, grants to support skill development in our area, they're things that I and my team in the office are committed to making sure we access and connect into the local community.
Okay. The carbon tax, I think you guys have done an appalling job at selling this. There is advertising money being spent on it and things like that. As it evolves, will we see more communications on it and maybe more balanced communication, or is it? I'm not sure where it goes to after this in terms of explaining to the Australian population what's going on with the carbon tax.
Yeah, look, I think the Australian population really have been subject to an incredibly dangerous misinformation campaign and a great deal of fear-mongering, and I think our local businesses should be very angry at the way that the community has been destabilised in terms of their confidence. You know, small businesses rely on the Australian people being confident in a very sound economy. You know, the Treasurer has just been awarded the Treasurer of the Year at an international level. You know, Australia's economy is the envy of the world. We've got $146 billion worth of investment coming into the mining sector, and all Australians are going to have a share of that. You know, these are really powerfully positive things about our economy that really underlie our action. Australians have been subject to a big scare campaign in a most insulting and unnecessary way, and the impact on small business, I think, of that is quite irresponsible.
Will there be more? Is there a feeling within the government that the information needs to be clearer or better articulated than has been up until
now?
now?
The funny thing about information is, and I recall this from when I was teaching, you know, I'd write all these directions about what was going on, and at the bottom, at the top of it, I'd write, you know, just do what you normally do and follow what everybody else does. This is the instructions for those of you who want to read. Because, you know, a lot of people don't want more information. They want to live their life. They want to get on with their life. They expect the government to make sure that we do a good job and deliver well. And what's going to happen with the carbon price is that 500 big companies are going to pay, and money, unlike when the GST came in and we had a 2.5% CPI index impact, there will be a 0.7 impact. And for people who are most likely to be affected, and 9 out of 10 households in this area are going to get some assistance with their household outgoings to make sure that they don't feel the pain of this adjustment to a clean energy economy. So what I think will happen is the money will go into people's pockets in April, May, and they'll go, oh, okay. And in fact, people who reduce their carbon footprint and buy things that have less carbon money invested in it will be able to save money. So not only will they not have the 2.5% John Howard impost of the GST, there's the potential there for people on the Central Coast to actually, you know, increase the benefit from the household assistance they're going to receive. In addition to that, you know, we're going to be investing in jobs, a whole lot more clean energy jobs, 1.6 million by 2020. My goal is to get some of them here.
Okay, we'll hold you to that goal.
Thank you.
Deborah.